Ah, that looks delicious, but we're certainly trying to help you out, gearing up for summer so that you can look and feel your best. We're back with Dr. Zane Stevens this morning, talking everything, metabolism, thyroid, different body types, and also, you know, what you need to know when it comes to looking your best and the certain issues that can influence that. Dr. Zane, so we spoke about so much already, and this really is a large topic. You almost need an entire 3 hours to talk about this. But earlier on, you mentioned visceral fat. Now, are there certain fats that are more difficult than others to burn off, and what exactly is visceral fat that you spoke about?
So I think that's a really important concept. So really, if we think about it, we think about fat as being either visceral fat or subcutaneous fat. So subcutaneous fat is the fat that we see.
Okay.
And interesting enough, although maybe aesthetically unpleasing because that's how we've been brought up, that's not really a problem. Fat becomes a problem when you start laying it down in abnormal sites, and that's what we refer to as visceral fat. So in organs, around organs, liver fat, for example, fat in your pancreas, fat around your kidneys. That fat, we believe, starts to become metabolically active, releasing a whole lot of cytokines, hormones, things that causes inflammation in the body and lead ultimately to insulin resistance, which we believe is the sort of starting point for the development of type 2 diabetes and a lot of other conditions associated with that and poor lifestyle, such as high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, heart disease, etc. So that fat really is the bad guy, if you want to call it that. And so all our attempts really at weight loss, fortunately, when you start to lose weight and you start to exercise, even if the sort of kilograms on the scale doesn't change, we start to see improvements in levels of visceral fat. So at the same conference, the same presenter showed us that even though the body weights of patient training for 12 weeks, just 3 hours a week didn't change, the amount of fat in their liver significantly decreased, which means that you're doing a lot to prevent those diseases of lifestyle in the future.
Wow, that's definitely something that I don't think a lot of people do think about when it comes to the weight loss journey. But we've got another caller on the line, Elise from Witbank. Good morning, Elise.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good, thank you. What's your question?
Morning, Dr. Stevens. My question is, I've got a very fast metabolism. So usually you guys talk about how to slow down how to fasten your slow metabolism, but for me, it's the other way around. I've got a very fast metabolism, and anything that I eat doesn't stay for long in my tummy. So I keep on losing weight and losing and losing and losing. And then usually when I eat, after a few minutes, I go to the bathroom. So that's the problem. I need something that's going to make my tummy to slow down my metabolism. The doctor said I had overactive thyroid before, but now they tested me. I went to the doctor again when all this started again, but then they couldn't find overactive thyroid at all. But my metabolism is really acting up.
Okay, so what advice could you give there?
So that's quite an interesting problem. So, I mean, I think what was done initially was very, very good. You must check the thyroid status because an overactive thyroid certainly increases gastric transit and sort of colonic transit, etc. But it would be interesting to also consider other associated conditions. So Graves' disease, as I mentioned, is a common cause of an overactive thyroid, which is an autoimmune condition. So I think in a patient like Elizabeth, one would have to think about other malabsorptive conditions. So your body just not being able to absorb the nutrients. And you get associated autoimmune conditions like celiac disease, which can be one of those causes. So that would be the type of things we'd be thinking about, are associated conditions. So I think those tests would need to be done. And then you'd also have a look at sort of pancreatic function, sort of making sure that the hormones that are required to help you absorb things like fat and protein, etc., are there in the right amount. So there would be quite a few things that we'd have a look at in such a situation.
So, all right, so definitely Elise's problem is not necessarily metabolism or thyroid.
Not necessarily, no.
All right, well, Elise, I hope that helped your question this morning. Thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it. Dr. Zane, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I mean, this is a big topic once again, but thank you for the advice. Really appreciate it. So there we go. So we really hope that we answered some of your questions this morning, getting you ready for the coming summer months.